If I sound a bit weird, that is because I am getting over a cold. I will try my best not to cough too much. Hello everybody, I'm Sophie and welcome to my book nook. So today I have a wrap up for you guys, and this isn't like a monthly wrap up or anything like that. This is a Battle of the Books wrap up. If any of you don't know what Battle of the Books is, it is a competition where kids and teens read books and then have like a trivia competition. It's fun, and my library is a part of Battle of the Books in my area, and we have a middle school and a high school competition. I was in the high school for a few years, but now that I am too old to compete, I am a coach. So this year I read all of the books for both middle school and high school, which is a total of 11 books, and they were all really, really good, and I'm going to share them with you, and it's gonna be fun. So the way that I read the books is that I read the description and then I guess based off of that which ones I'm gonna like the least and which ones I'm gonna like the best, and I read them from least to best. And that is what I did this year, but the way that I am going to share the books with you is the order of how much I actually did like them, starting from the least and then going down to the best. And I will let you know like where I read this in the order, like if I read it early on or later on, so you can get an idea of how much I thought I would like it. But I just figured that sharing it in the order of what I actually like them in would be better. So let's do that. So the book that I liked the least, and saying that I liked it the least is I rated it 3.8 out of 5 stars, so still pretty darn good. That would be Doll Bones by Holly Black. I read Doll Bones from April 4th to April 9th. It was one of the later books that I read, so I thought I was going to like it a lot. But this book follows Poppy, Zach, and Alice, three 12-year-olds who have a extremely long ongoing imaginary game with their dolls, and it's really sweet, and I love the whole imagination thing because that is something that I did a lot when I was younger. At the beginning of the book, however, Zach's dad throws away all of his dolls because he believes that Zach needs to stop pretending and grow up. And a whole lot of chaos ensues, including a doll that is inhabited by a ghost. The storyline I enjoyed in this book. That was fine. It was a pretty cool storyline. My favorite part of this book was how at one point the kids are sneaking around in a library. I work in a library. What they find is a lot of rubber bands, and let me tell you guys, that is spot on accurate. If you ever need rubber bands, go to your library. I'm sure that, like mine, they have thousands of them. What I did not like about Doll Bones was that these guys are supposed to be friends, and they don't seem like it at all. They're really mean to each other, and they don't really talk about their feelings, talk about why they are so upset at each other, which I guess is kind of understandable, but the friendship here it's not very believable to me. And it could be because there's one or two chapters where they are at the beginning where they're all getting along and all friends and all that, so maybe if that had lasted longer it would have made more sense to me. But that was the biggest problem I had with this book, is that they're supposed to be really good friends and I just don't see it. So that's why it's the one I like the least. And guys, this was really hard. I spent an hour and a half last night trying to figure out the order of what I liked the least and what I liked the best, because these were all just overall really good books. Alright, so that's number 11. Number 10 is Supermax and the Mystery of Thornwood's Revenge by Susan Vaught. Supermax I read from March 21st to March 26th. It was in the middle, so I wasn't really sure if I was going to like it a lot or if I was going to like it a little. This book is about Max, who when she was very young was in a car accident with her mom and lost the ability to walk, so she is in a wheelchair. Max lives with her grandfather, who is the police chief of the small town where they live. And in this small town, right across the street from where Max lives, is the infamous Thornwood's mansion. And Mr. Thornwood, I can't remember his first name, when he died, said that he would get his revenge on the town for all the wrong they had done to him. And things start going kind of creepy at the beginning of the book. People are talking. There's a Facebook account that's impersonating Max's grandpa, and then lights start flickering in Thornwood Mansion. This book is very much a whodunit, and it's a mystery, and I love mysteries. I have always loved mysteries since I was little, so it was very enjoyable to read another mystery. And the storyline and the mystery I thought was very good. My problem with the book was that in the middle it felt a little slow, so like, the beginning was good, the end was good, but the middle was kind of slow, and I like things to be evenly paced, or I'm okay if a book starts out slow and then picks up and then is like really good, but like slowing down in the middle is just, I'm not a big fan of that. As far as the mystery, I was able to figure out who it was pretty early on in the book, which I don't mind. Other people might, but it was really good, and I loved how they portrayed Max's disability very well, and it's something that I don't see a lot in books, so that was very refreshing to read. So if you're looking for a sweet little whodunit mystery, and I would recommend reading it. I gave it 4 stars, so it was pretty good. Alright, so that was number 10. Moving on to number 9, The First Rule of Punk by Celia C. Perez. I read The First Rule of Punk from February 28th to March 5th. It was the second book that I read, so I didn't have very high expectations for it, but I was thoroughly surprised of how much I enjoyed it. This book is about Malu and her mom at the beginning of the book are moving to Chicago for 2 years away from Malu's dad. And it's a new place, and Malu doesn't want to go. It's all about Malu kind of fitting in and finding her place and meeting friends and making her mark on her new school. And it's a really sweet story. Malu and her mom, Malu's mom is Mexican, and so Malu is half Mexican. And Malu doesn't really fit in, like, with her. Malu's mom wants her to be more like her, and Malu is like anything but her mom, who she calls super Mexican. It's a really sweet story, and one thing that's really cool about this book is that Malu likes to make zines, and in this book you will find, where's one? Here's one. I can find one. You will find these zines in the book, which are very cool and very cute, and I didn't really have any problems with this book. I gave it 5 stars. It's just really sweet. It's well paced. The characters are all great. I liked it. I liked it a lot. So that is number 9. The next book that I have, I actually rated it less stars than The First Rule of Punk, but I enjoyed it a bit more, even though I gave it a little bit less stars. Number 8 is one that I was looking forward to. I really wanted to like this book. It's number 8, so it was hard to pick where this would go. 6 of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. Now, this was the first book of hers that I have ever read. I read this book from April 10th to April 15th, and I rated it 4.5 stars, and here's why. It took me 100 pages to get into it. The first 100 pages I thought were extremely slow, and I didn't know, it was like a lot of like character building, I guess, and world building and all that, and I don't know, it just took a long time for like the pace to pick up and the action to pick up, and it also took me a long time to actually like the characters. I don't even know when I started liking the characters, but all of a sudden I realized I did. I love Jesper. Oh my gosh, he's my favorite. But all these characters, they had a lot of depth to them, and they were all a little bit broken, and I like characters like that. I feel like they're more relatable, though these characters, I don't know if they're relatable, but I liked how much depth they have and all that. And Kaz, I tried not to like him, but I guess it was inevitable. So anyways, I didn't even say what the book's about. This book is about 6 characters, and they're a ragtag team of misfits and con men and thieves and runaways and spies and all that stuff. And they are given an opportunity to do this super big heist in this place that should be impenetrable, and stuff happens. It's really cool. There's magic because it's in the Grishaverse, which I haven't read the books. I think I already said that. I like the magic though in this book. It makes me want to read the other books in the Grishaverse. I'm worried that I won't be able to get into them, just like this one, how it took so long for me to enjoy it. But I mean, I really did enjoy the ending, and it is a kind of a cliffhanger, so I do want to read the next book. I will be doing that at some point. Overall, 4.5 stars, so I did enjoy it a lot. It just took a while to get into. So, number 8. Number 7 is It Ain't So Awful Falafel by Firouzeh Dumas. This book was so sweet and so interesting. It takes place in the late 70s, very early 80s in California, but it is about Cindy, whose actual name is Zomarad Yousefzadeh, and she's originally from Iran. She doesn't like her not American name because it just makes for a lot of questions from people, so she decides when she moves to a new city in California that she wants to change her name to Cindy. In this book, there is a lot about what's going on in Iran at the time, which I didn't know a lot about. And so learning all of that was extremely interesting because I love history. I love to learn all about all that stuff. And the story was just so sweet and so heartwarming, and I enjoyed it so much, and I don't really know what else to say about it. It was just really good, and I would highly recommend it to anybody who would like a relatively quick read, an enjoyable read, and also something that's educational and you will learn something from it. Number 6 is One of Us is Lying by Karen M. McManus. This book I just finished reading April 18th to April 20th. This was the last book I read. I thought it was the one I was going to like the best. There were a lot of really good books this year, so it's coming in at number 6, but I really did enjoy it. So this book is about mainly 4 high school seniors. It is about, so we have Bronwyn, the brain, we have Cooper, the athlete, Addie, the beauty queen, and Nate, who is like the delinquent. And they are all together in detention along with Simon, who has created, while in high school, a gossip app to spill all the details on all of the other students. Except 5 go into detention, but only 4 leaves. Simon dies while in detention, and the police discover that it was not an accident, and more so, it is discovered that the 4 who were in detention with Simon were going to have their biggest secrets released onto Simon's gossip app the next day. So they are all prime suspects for the murder. Again, this is a mystery, and I love mysteries, and it is kind of a whodunit, and I wasn't sure about it at first. I think it took me maybe 3 chapters to actually start enjoying the book. I also wasn't really sure about the main characters either, but as the book went on especially, I really, really enjoyed the characters, and I loved watching them all grow and all of that. I can't really say too much about the characters' growth without spoiling the book, But especially Addie, her character growth is just so much, and it's so like, she goes from being sort of this passive girl to this super tough, I don't need no man in my life to be happy, and I love it. It's great. Her character growth especially is awesome. But like it's all so good. And as far as the who killed Simon, I was able to figure it out freakishly well, a little over halfway through the book. But like I said earlier, in regards to Supermax, when I can figure out who did it, I don't mind that. I like to be able to figure it out. I probably would have gotten upset if I couldn't figure it out. But that's just me. If you don't like to be able to figure out the who did it in mystery, then this book might not be for you. But if you want to, if you're looking for a really fun mystery, if you want to see some really good character growth, I would recommend One of Us is Lying, because I gave it 5 stars because I really, really enjoyed it. Alright, that is number 6. Number 5 is The Ruins of Gorlin by John Flanagan. This was the first book that I read from February 23rd to 27th. I went into this thinking that I was going to hate it because it sounded like a lot of other books that I had read before. It is about, the main character is Will, and in this story, Will grows up in like the local castle of the Baron, I think. It's whatever, like the guy and the ruler of this area in the country that Will lives in. He grew up an orphan, but the ruler takes in all the orphans and gives them opportunities when they turn 15 to become apprentices to people in the area. I'm not explaining this very well. I'm sorry, guys. Oh, this book is a part of the Ranger's Apprentice series. Will ends up being recruited by the local ranger to be his apprentice, and the rangers are kind of like they're definitely spies. They do reconnaissance information, and they do fight in battles and all that, and they're not really magic, which is kind of cool. They seem like magic to the other people who aren't a part of their order and have learned all of their secrets. It was really enjoyable. I did not think I was going to like it, but I really did. The other thing that I liked is that the book doesn't just follow Will, but also one of the other teenagers that he grew up with, and his storyline as well, which was really interesting, and it was really entertaining to read. And it's a part of a very long series, so I don't know. I want to read more, but I don't know how long it will take me to do that. But it was really good, and I was highly surprised by how much I enjoyed this book. It's relatively short. It's a middle grade novel. I would recommend it. It's kind of a fantasy, I guess. I think it's fantasy. It's good though. I would recommend it if you're looking for a new series to read. Because I thought it was gonna be like a lot of other books, but it was unique. Number 4 is Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe by Benjamin Alea Zines. If I pronounced the name wrong, I am sorry. I tried. This book is about Dante and Ari. And Ari can't swim, and Dante can, and that's how they meet. They meet at the pool, and Dante offers to teach Ari how to swim. It takes place over the course of 2 years. It was very interesting. I read it, okay, hold on. I read it from March 12th to March 14th, so it didn't take me long to read. It was a very quick read, even though it's kind of big, but just the way it was written, relatively short chapters. It was really good. What I enjoyed about this book, something that I said in my Goodreads review, was that what I realized is a good book is a lot like a good friend. They make you think about important things and make you want to be better. And that is what this book did to me. It made me think about a lot of important things, and it made me want to be a better person. The friendship between Ari and Dante is really sweet, and what ultimately comes out of that is also really sweet. And I really did enjoy this. I didn't think I was going into it. But my friend Bella at the Bookish Badger loves this book, and I ended up really liking it. I don't have anything bad to say about this book. So, there you have it. Read this book, just because it is really good, really easy to read, and it'll make you think about important things and make you want to be better, because those are the best books. So, number 4. We're getting into the top 3, guys. We're almost there. Number 3 is The Hate U Give by Angie Thomas. I took a long time to read this book. Not when I actually started reading it, but just in general, there was a lot of hype around it. And I tend to read books once the hype starts dying down. That's just me. Another reason I think I took so long to read this book is because I really wanted to like it, and I was just worried that I wasn't going to, which was stupid, because it's in my top 3 of these 11 books that I've read for Battle of the Books. It was so good. Don't be like me. Don't wait to read this book if you haven't. This book is about Star, and she lives in a not good neighborhood, but she goes to school at a very prestigious high school because her parents wanted to protect her and her brothers, so they sent her to a school 45 minutes away from where they live, so that way they would be safe. The book starts out with Star at a party that she really wasn't allowed to go to, but does anyway, because teenagers, and ends up seeing one of her old friends, Khalil, and if I pronounced that name wrong, I am so sorry. A fight breaks out at the party, and she and Khalil Khalil ends up driving her home, except they're pulled over, and the cop ends up shooting Khalil dead. And the book is all about the repercussions of that, fighting for justice. The topics in this book are extremely important, because unfortunately this is the world we live in. The way that it was written in this book was, I thought, very good. I thought the characters had a lot of depth to them. Maybe that's just me. I was reading some reviews last night and saw that other people think differently about that, but I thought the characters had a lot of depth to them. The storyline was very well paced, and I enjoyed it a lot. Again, this book, like Ari and Dante, makes you think about a lot of things, makes you want to be better, makes you want to make a difference. Those are the best books to me. Those are always the best books to me. So, I really, really, really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. Don't be like me. Read the book sooner than later. It was really, really good. Top 3 for me. So, number 2 is The Darkest Part of the Forest by Holly Black. I read this book from March 15th to March 20th. The book is about Hazel and her brother Ben. They live in Fairfold, where humans and the folk, who are like fairy creatures, they kind of live together. They're separate, but like the folk cause troubles and play pranks and sometimes kill people. You know, in Fairfold, there is a coffin with what they believe is the prince of the folk, and he has been there for as long as anyone can remember, asleep, sort of like Snow White. What ends up happening is, one day, the coffin is broken and the prince is gone, and the story kind of follows Hazel and her brother both, but separately, not together, looking for the prince because they don't talk. They're kind of both lying to each other. This book was a bit confusing at the beginning just because it flashes back a lot, and it wasn't very obvious for me at first when it flashed back, so I had to like wait, what? When is this happening? But once I figured out like when flashbacks were happening and all that, it made a lot more sense, and I really enjoyed it. I loved all the characters. I loved it their way. I loved the writing. I loved the storyline. I loved it. I loved the magic. I just loved it. I loved it. I gave it 5 stars because I loved it. I guess this book sorta, slightly, kind of goes with some, it's in the same universe, I guess, as some of Holly Black's other books, which I'm definitely now want to read now that I've read this book and her writing more, and it was just really good, guys. Read it. Now we are at the end here, the number one book for me for Battle of the Books 2019. I read it from March 6th to March 7th, so basically 24 hours, I was done. This book was so good, I couldn't put it down. I loved it so much, and that is Wolf Hollow by Lauren Wolk. Guys, this book is so beautiful. That is the best way I can describe it. Just so beautiful. I believe it takes place in the 50s, the late 50s, the early 50s. It takes place not too long after World War I and World War II. And it is the main focus of the story is Annabelle, who is about 12 years old, I believe. 11 or 12, I think. In the town that she lives in, there is a reclusive World War I vet named Toby, who he doesn't really talk to anyone, and he just sort of wanders around, but he is helpful to people, sort of, and Annabelle considers him a friend, and she really cares about him. At the beginning of the book, we find out that there is a new student to Annabelle's school, Betty. Betty's really bad. She's mean, she's rude, she's horrible, honestly. She is a bully, especially to Annabelle, but then her target ends up being Toby. And that's what the story is about. A lot of what happened in this book, I wasn't expecting. This book put me on an emotional roller coaster, guys. But it's so good, and it is so amazing. It's probably going to be one of my top books in 2019 because it was just so good. Like a few of these other books, it's a book that makes you think, and a book that makes you feel, and I want everybody to read this book. It is my number one book for Battle of the Books 2019, Wolf Hollow by Lauren Wolk. Here we have all 11 books. They were so good. This was such a good Battle of the Books selection this year. I am so happy with them. In past years, there have been no good ones or mostly bad ones, and so I was just so happy and so blown away by all the fantastic books this year. I enjoyed reading all of them so much. It was just such a good year. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you enjoyed listening to me ramble on about books that I enjoy, please subscribe to my channel. There is going to be more books, more me talking about books really soon. And I think that is it. So, bye guys. I will see you really soon.